Hello, everyone. How you guys doing? It's your boy Dave, saxologist on Saxophonist. Today, I have another outstanding guest, and I always want to have some diversity on this channel. I like to have women, especially women that can play what I love, the saxophone. And we just so happen to have one, and she goes by the name of Camille Thurman. Camille, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. Thank you for asking. Uh, you know what? And I really appreciate you taking out the time from your busy schedule to sit down and talk to a fellow saxophonist.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, I watched you play, and first of all, I'm just taken aback by your facilities. Or I mean, the way you get around the horn, and then on top of that, I saw you put the horn to the side and pick up the mic, and I said, "Wait a minute, what we got going on here?" So you
Yes.
actually sing as well. So let's talk about your beginnings. Which started first, singing or playing music?
I would say singing started first. My mother, she played piano and sung around the house, and she also led a children's choir at our church, and she would always play music around me, and I kind of just observed it like a sponge. And I remember at late at night she would practice her piano and she would write songs too and sing. And even though I was sleeping, I was like still hearing everything she was singing and playing. And one day when she wasn't home, I went to the piano and tried to kind of play out what she was doing or try to sing the songs that she was singing. And she didn't realize I was doing this until I told her one day, "Hey, mom, I'm going to a talent show at a school. I'm going to play." And she was like, "What are you going to do? You don't play. I haven't really heard you sing. What are you going to do? You're taking lessons?" And I showed her. I went to the piano and showed her what I was doing, and I was like, "You've been practicing this at late at night," and I played it back for her, and she was just shocked.
Wow. Okay. So you found out early that you had a good
Mm,
ear.
yeah,
Yeah,
very early.
very early. So
Yeah.
once you discovered that you had that ear, so what did your mother do with you from there? Did she say, "Let's get you in some lessons on something," or what?
Yeah, she actually had me sign up for some violin lessons at my school. And that only happened for a year because that particular year when I was at the school, it was a massive budget cut. So the program only was for a year. And I was devastated because I loved it. It was an outlet for me and it was something that was really fun and exciting. And I didn't really get to touch another instrument until I was about, I would say, 11 or 12 years old.
And so the violin was your first instrument?
Mm-hmm.
Did you really like it, or is it was just getting through it?
I really loved it because at that point there was an artist by the name of Noel Pointer, and I
Yes.
remember, yeah, my mother took me to a street festival. There used to be a big festival in the summertime around 4th of July called the African Street Festival in Brooklyn, and it was I think it was what, Boys and Girls High School. And I remember every summer they'd have concerts, and she would always bring me. And that one summer, I saw Noel Pointer play with his blue violin. I was like, "Whoa, I want to do that!" And it looks like fun. So for me, that was the inspiration behind wanting to play violin. Even though I was still kind of singing songs and doing stuff, but I wanted to be like him.
That's I've heard that that's a hard instrument to learn though, the violin. Is that right?
I would agree. I mean, there's no frets,
Yeah.
so you really gotta know where everything is. And as far as like producing really good, refined sound, it takes a while to really get it to the point where it speaks the way you want it to speak. But I guess that's with any instrument, you could say
Yeah.
that.
So would you say that you had relative pitch, or do you have perfect pitch?
I had perfect pitch, but I didn't know.
You didn't know. Huh?
I didn't know what it was.
Wow. So you just by chance you just found out, hey, that's F sharp right there. I was like, what is that?
Mhm.
Did you just open that door and that's a C flat when you just closed it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would remember songs and their keys by the time of the day and the color that I felt or would see. I think I kind of had some synesthesia and I just didn't know what it was.
So which brings me to a question. When you started playing, uh, what was your first playing like organized in school or what have you? Were you playing by ear then, and did the teacher kind of correct you?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tricked him for a long time. He didn't know I was playing bass. Because in band, we would play things and I would kind of hear it and get the gist of it and then just play it back on flute. So I just kind of, in a way, memorized without even trying my parts. And I remember one day he kind of caught me and he was just like, "No, you got to read the page." And I was like, "Yeah, but I'm playing." And he's like, "No, you're not reading the page. You're adding other stuff to it." I was like, "Oh, okay." But I remember because I would always hang out at the band room during my lunch break. I just wanted to play every instrument under the sun, and he would let me come during my lunch period and go in the back room and play all these instruments. And I remember him and the security guard, they would always kind of hang out for lunchtime. The security guard would sit at the piano, and my teacher, he'd be kind of doing his stuff during his prep. And I remember I came by and the buzzer went off for the next class, and I was like, "Ooh, that A flat is really out of tune." And they looked at me like, "How do you know that? You have no instrument in your hand. You didn't go and have a reference. So
Right.
how did you know that?" And I was like, "I don't know. This sounds like an A flat." And the security guard started playing notes, and he was like, "What's this?" And I started like, "Oh, that's an F. What's this? Oh, that's a B. What's this? Oh, that's an A flat." And him and Mr. Archer looked at each other and were like, "You have perfect pitch." I was like, "What's that?" And they were like, "Well, you hear a pitch and you're able to tell exactly what it is without an instrument." I was like, "Oh, that's what that is."
Yeah. I can imagine someone with that kind of skill that open you up for everything pretty much, right? If your learning curve,
Really did.
your learning curve is a lot shorter when you have perfect pitch. You can memorize and just
Hmm.
so now
Yeah.
it's crazy though.
It's insane. I mean, because I didn't realize that was part of the reason why I was able to pick up things so fast. And even when I started playing the saxophone and I started transcribing solos, or even before that, like singing songs or trying to transcribe solos, I would sing them and then I would try to figure out playing them. And it just didn't dawn on me that, oh, I have a gift that allows me to pick up things really fast. I was just doing it.
Well, how many instruments did you go through before you became, you know, this great saxophonist now? How many did you try out?
Okay, so I went through a violin that didn't last too long. I played a trombone for like 2 weeks that didn't last long. I had a bad experience. And then I ended up settling on the flute. And my mother, she was a school teacher, so she would always confiscate stuff, and she came home with a mouthpiece. And I thought it was a clarinet mouthpiece because at that time there was a movie called Mr. Holland's Opus and it was really big and I was like, "Well, I want to play clarinet and play a solo like that." And I thought it was a clarinet mouthpiece and my teacher was like, "No, this is a alto mouthpiece." And I was just like, "Okay, I want an alto saxophone now." And he was like, "No, we've already gone through a trombone. We've already gone through the flute. You're going to stay with the flute. You're going to learn how to read it. You're going to get better on your sight reading and then stick with it." But I kept asking him, and I guess he saw that I was so curious. He was just like, "You know what? If you learn how to play the flute and you learn how to play the clarinet, you can learn how to play the saxophone." He's like, "You can make a living and a whole career off of playing woodwinds." And I never had anyone share that with me. My brain went like, pew, like, whoa, I can
Yeah,
make a living having fun playing different instruments,
right.
like the way I love to do it now. And he ended up giving me a saxophone, and that's how I ended up kind of getting a saxophone and jumping right on and doing that.
So would you say that once you found your voice when you got the saxophone after all those other instruments?
I did. I mean, I was still playing the flute because he was very he was very he had me be very disciplined because his goal was, you're going to LaGuardia High School. You need to go to a performing arts high school. You need to make sure that you have some classical rep under your fingers. You're able to play certain things. And he was like, if you're going to be playing jazz, you should keep doing both. So I ended up keeping both, even though I was mainly playing, a lot of saxophone in a jazz band. He was like, keep playing the flute because that's going to be helpful to you. And I'm glad he made me do that because when it got to doubling, it was effortless because I was already doing it. And I had a great, great foundation on my flute.
That's awesome. So when you picked up the saxophone, did you have any private lessons as well?
That came many years later, actually, because I was picking up stuff and kind of just transferring what I learned on flute
Okay.
to saxophone. It wasn't until I got to high school that I had my first official saxophone lesson. And I remember my teacher, his name is Mark Faniff at the time, and he was correcting me. He was like, "Hey, show me that vibrato again." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I was kind of doing it from my diaphragm because
Yeah.
for the flute, that's where you do it from." And he was like, "No, it's yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Wow, 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 wow.
yeah." Yeah, and I was like, "That's weird. That feels really weird." He was like, "That's how we do vibrato and saxophone." And I was just like, "Oh, okay." All this time I've been doing it from my diaphragm. But him and Ben Kono were like my first official two teachers that kind of really gave me saxophone lessons. But it took a while because I had such great ears. A lot of things I would get kind of through without them really realizing that I didn't quite fully do the whole proper method of grasping because I would
Right.
just kind of figure it out. Once I got into high school, it started kind of showing that, oh, okay, I need to go back and work on this or work on that because I would just kind of boom, pick up stuff and go, but not really sit with someone who was an actual saxophone player and say, hey, this is what we do on saxophone, this is what we do on flute.
That's amazing. So, how old were you when you got your first paid gig? I don't care if it was $5. How old were you when somebody said, "Young lady, here you go"?
My first paid gig was, I believe I was in eighth grade. I was about, I want to say, 12 years old with my band teacher. He had a band called Just Friends, and it was all public school teachers, and they all played jazz. And he had me come up and play with them for rehearsals. And I was so nervous because I was like, oh my gosh, they've been playing for like 20, 30 years, and I've only been playing for 3 years. But Mr. Archer had so much faith in me that he kept trying to find opportunities for me to just play and literally get in the fire and figure it out.
That's amazing. So, let me ask you about at the time when you're from New York, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, I can imagine there's a vast array of just great musicians and programs that you were going up through school. So, as opposed to when you were coming up and you're in the education field right now, I'm too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you remember they used to
Yes.
fund programs back then. So what about the state of New York? What is the school system like as far as music now?
Well, at that time, well, right now, there's still, I personally, I still believe there's still some disparities. I mean, they're doing better and realizing that they need to create accessibility for everybody. And it's crazy because one of the borough-wide music coordinators was a student of my teacher too, and I met her, and I ended up meeting her many years later, and we realized, whoa, we both have Mr. Archer, and I'm starting to see that they're trying to create opportunities where students from all over the city have access, particularly New York City, have access to either playing music or hearing. There's still work to be done because a lot of times, like for me, when I was coming through the public school system, my mother had to take me to a school completely across town because in the schools in my neighborhood, which were predominantly black, did not have arts programs. And if they did, it was bare, 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 bare minimum. Mind you, the area that I lived in, St. Albans, Queens, had so much jazz history. So
Yeah.
that was the irony of it. Like there's like a legacy of all these great musicians that lived there or came through there, but the students of my generation couldn't access even just having an instrument or consistent opportunities to just play. And it took her having to take a radical step of taking me out my neighborhood and getting me to a place where they had funding, which was not black. I was many times the only black student or one of two. So it's it's getting better, but I feel like there's still a lot of progress to be done. I mean, I do a lot of master classes and clinics, and I still see that there's still disparities as far as representation. I can tell you, I've adjudicated or even come as a guest to programs, high school programs, college programs, and you still don't see diversity
Yeah.
represented, because many times the critical years where a student would be able to access music is middle school.
Yeah.
And if a student of color or a student of a certain financial bracket income does not get to experience it, that's it. Or if they do, then the weight of them carrying through with it is on them. So getting to lessons, or finding opportunities to play. Like, I used to look up local school bands, or not school bands, local city bands, just to audition for, just to have opportunities to play, because I knew in my neighborhood it wasn't available.
Right.
And my mother, she would take me to the all city auditions, or all county or whatnot. And then once I got there, I realized students were doing this since they were in their third, fourth, fifth grade. And I'm like, whoa, I'm getting ready for college, and I don't even have a track record of a private teacher.
Right.
So there's a way, we still have a ways to go.
So now, when you were going through your journey, though, did you experience the sexism thing? Being a woman playing with, and I know the guys were like, I know how guys are. So did you have to go through that?
Yes.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah, I did. I went to a performing arts high school. So mainly had a classical program and a jazz program. And at that time, my first 2 years were incredible. I studied with a wonderful tuba player by the name of Bob Stewart. And he was an excellent educator. He even had students who were not music majors cutting their classes to come to his class. That's how great he was. But after he left the program, he kind of really set the tone for it. And once he left, it shifted. And even though there might have been some quirks of that, it was under wraps, because he really made an effort to make sure that we all were respected. Once he left, that went out the window. And some new administration came in, and the priority was, look, I'm new. We got to make this sound great, make me look great, and keep it moving. When for some of us ladies, it was like we're suffering.
Um,
We're having a really hard time. And then there was another teacher there who was, from an older kind of type of way of dealing with it. So he didn't deal with it. And for myself and some of the other girls, we would find ourselves waiting 45 minutes to play. And the period's only 55 minutes, because they wouldn't emphasize having us share parts. So
wow.
it was on us to decide, which was a no-no, because many times the guys are like, okay, if I don't want you in my section, I'm just not going to have you play. I want so and so to play. So we would sit there waiting to play. We would have to learn both books, because if they didn't feel like, oh, I don't feel like playing this song, you play it. We didn't know when they would have us play. So we both were kind of juggling first tenor and second tenor books. And then when it came to improvising, it was rough. If you made a mistake, if you played a wrong note, they made a spectacle out of it. The teacher wouldn't really reprimand them, or if anything, it was very light, and a lot of the girls felt very discouraged. I know I did. By the time I graduated, I didn't want anything to do with music, just because we had just been so disrespected and discouraged, and there was no support from the administration. And this is way before me too. So their philosophy was, well, if we can't see it, if it's not a physical thing, if it's not verbally said in your face, sorry, we can't help you.
Wow. Now, is this college or high school we talk?
High school.
High school? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
Yeah.
even with all that being, you being the strong-minded, strong-willed woman that you are, that didn't deter you. You kept it pushing, didn't you?
Yeah, but that came a little bit later, right after high school, because during that whole time, I wasn't confident
Mhm.
because I'm dealing with this, but then at the same time, my own personal thing of I'm trying to keep a secret that I've only been playing for 3, 4 years on this instrument, and the expectation of you can't make a mistake, the expectation of you got to show up and just do it perfect, even though it's not really like now, of course, as an adult, I realize late for that.
Yeah,
But as a 14, 15-year-old, and you're navigating those spaces and you're the only girl and
yeah,
you're being told in your face, we don't want you here, or so and so is better than you, so and so come play, and you're being disrespected without any reprimand from the teacher. It's very intimidating. It was rough. I mean, I remember going to rehearsals knowing, yeah, the guys don't want me here because they're telling me in my face.
yeah.
And I got to show up and play.
And now, again, in hindsight, I would probably guarantee you, you probably went farther than all of those people in there. Yes,
Yeah.
they're watching you now. The same ones that didn't, they hating though. They ain't telling you that, but they watching. There's Camille right there. Man, I knew she was a bad mother, man. That's what's going on now.
But you know what? I have to say, like at that time, I had Mr. Archer and I had my mother and I had a few people of the community. But once I got into college or out of college, that's when I really got to the community that helped me to get the confidence that I needed to get going. Meeting people like Antoine Roney, Dottie Taylor, Mimi Jones, Tia Fuller, George Coleman, and of course Abraham Burton and Bill Saxton and Bruce Williams. They became like my musical family because I never experienced having that until after I got out of school. And they're like, no, this is the school
Same.
right here. And they really took me by the hand and showed me, okay, this is what you need. So when you play, your calling card is what comes out of your horn, regardless of what they say to you. This is how you need to be doing it. And that gave me the confidence and the strength to really kind of stand up and say, okay, I can do this. And then meeting people like Daryl Green and so many other wonderful musicians who showed me that, even though they were men, they were like, no, we're rooting for you. We support you. We believe in you, which was the first that I had ever experienced as a young adult when, my high school experience was completely different.
Growing up in New York with, excuse me, with all that talent and musicians around, were there some times that you just said, you know what? I don't know if I'm really cut out for this, but I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna do everything I can to be playing these clubs out here. Did, was that coming around?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it can be tough at times because, for me it's like you're a woman. The other thing is you're a black woman.
That part.
And there at that time when I was getting into the scene, there weren't a lot of young black women on the scene. I mean, there was Tia Fuller and there were other women like Kim Clark and Bertha Hope, but they were further on in their journey and just coming fresh out the gate right out of college saying, "Okay, I'm gonna make a living and do this." There weren't really a lot of us, let alone just women in general. So it was intimidating at times, feeling like, okay, am I doing the right thing, or will I get called? But I have to say, the community was really helpful in helping me to break through in those early years, whether it was, some of my teachers or their friends saying, "Hey, do you know of any young saxophone players? Oh, you need to call Camille. She sounds good. She's one of my students. Let her do it." Or even just opportunities where it was like, "Hey, Camille, I know you sing and I know you play. Here's a gig that might be, talk to so and so. They're looking for a singer. I told them that you play too." But just that inner network of the community coming together and saying, "Hey, let's, I think she could do it. Here's an opportunity. Go do the rehearsal." Or, "Okay, go talk to this person, or go see them at this concert and go meet them." Or, "Hey, you know what? You should study with so and so because they play with such and such. Maybe y'all can get together." That was really essential and critical for me in my early years because that helped break the ice and give me support too.
You went to Juilliard, is that right?
No, I didn't go to Juilliard. I went to Binghamton University.
Oh, okay. I thought he said said education, Juilliard, jazz studies. So,
No, I didn't go there.
oh, okay. Well, that was a misprint on my part. Okay, so but when you were there though, who are some of your influences? Because you play straight ahead. You're pretty much a traditional jazz player for the most part, right? Yeah,
For the most part, that's my training.
yeah,
But the
yeah,
beautiful thing about playing jazz, you can play anything.
yeah.
And I'm fortunate to do all kinds of music and all kinds of gigs.
Who are some of your influences on saxophone?
Oh, I love George Coleman.
Yeah, he's a bad
I
boy.
love him. Yes, I love how he harmonically thinks. I love his approach. I love his sound. I love his ideas. I just love him. And of course, I love Joe Henderson. He's like a painter to me when he plays. Whenever I hear him, his approach. I love, of course, Sarah Vaughan. And then I love, of course, people like Diane Reeves and Dee Dee Bridgewater. Their voices are incredible. They're storytellers. And then I love Hubert Laws. I love um, it's just so many players and so many singers. I love Buster Williams as a bassist and composer.
Yeah,
He's like
yeah.
one of my favorites. Of course, Ron Carter. Of course, John Coltrane. I mean, the list goes on and on. Dexter was one of my biggest influences in the beginning, just because I loved his sound.
Yeah.
I loved his wit. So th those were the people that I kind of held close to my heart that I listened to.
So how did you end up picking tenor sax when you started on alto? What was it about the tenor that made you say this is my voice?
The sound. Um, when I started playing the tenor, I actually didn't pick the tenor. I started on alto and I wanted to stay on alto. But again, my band teacher, Mr. Archer, he found a way for me to get an opportunity to audition for a camp. And they didn't have any tenor players. And they found out that I had really good ears and that I auditioned on flute and he told them, well, she could play saxophone. And then they were like, well, would she be interested in playing tenor? And they said, we'll offer her a full scholarship. He's like, she's gonna play tenor.
I know that's right.
So him and my mom were like, yes, she'll be there Monday with the tenor. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna have my, my mark on my my shirt. Everybody's gonna be like, that's the little lady with the big old horn, and
That's it.
like my scarlet letter. And it's crazy how it was not crazy. I think it's just God how it worked because I remember going home that day after the audition to go visit my aunt actually. And she was like, why are you pouting? And I was like, I have to play tenor sax. Everybody's gonna make fun of me. I gotta travel on the train and the bus, and the case is huge. People are gonna laugh at me because the case is as big as me. And on top of that, it's a low sounding horn. It's not cute. I like my alto. It's fun. What girls play tenor? I've never seen any women play tenor. This is like the end of my career. And she's like, you're like in middle school. What are you talking about? And I told her, I was like, I don't even know how I'm gonna have a tenor because, I grew up, my parents were divorced and they were both school teachers working around the clock. I was like, how am I gonna get a tenor saxophone? Just to get a flute was like a miracle.
You're right.
And, being we can't afford lessons, so how am I gonna afford an instrument? And this is like me 12 years old worrying about stuff like that. And my aunt was like, well, we have one upstairs in the closet. And I was like, a tenor? Just randomly have a tenor in your upstairs room? She was like, yeah, go look at it. And I went up there and I found it. It was in a room that looked like it hadn't been touched in like 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
And I went in that closet and it was like a 1968 Mark Six Summer tenor saxophone, untouched, mint condition, with the original $500 receipt and two auto link rubber mouthpieces.
Get out of here.
I'm not lying. So I think it was like divine intervention
Wow. I'm
for
telling
me
you.
to play tenor.
Do you still have that horn?
I still do.
You do? Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
Serial
That was
number,
my
da da da
first
da
one.
da da da, you know.
Uh-huh, 151791.
Oh, that's a
Yep.
beautiful story. I like that though. So, hey,
Yeah.
so you were the first woman in 30 years to play with the Lincoln Jazz Orchestra. Talk to me
Full
about that. That
time.
is amazing. Tell me the story behind that, if you would.
Sure. Well, I was touring with my band through a State Department tour that was put together for us to be out there in Africa for about a whole month. So we were touring Mozambique, Senegal, Nigeria, Cameroon, and Mauritania. And Daryl and I, we were out there just performing and doing master classes and clinics, and it was a great experience. And I remember getting a phone call at 3 in the morning when I was in Cameroon, and it was from Walter Blanding, and he said, "Hey, Camille, Winton and I have been talking, and we want to run this by you, see how you feel. We know you got your own thing you're doing, but we just want to ask you if you'd be interested. Would you like to play with the band for a whole year?" And I was like, wait, what? I almost dropped the phone because it was just like, well, first off, Walter's calling me. How did he get my number? And secondly, I was like, wait, I grew up watching you, and now you're asking me to play your seat in the band for a whole year. And I said, well, can I call you tomorrow and give you a decision? Because I have to figure out a lot of stuff. Because, I mean, as you know, when you're touring and performing, a lot of the things you book are a year in advance. And I had to talk with Daryl because we had our band and we already had things booked and lined up for the next year. And I remember knocking on his door that early morning and I said, hey, I gotta talk to you. And I talked to him and he was like, do it. And I was like, yeah, but this means that we're gonna have to put what we're doing a little bit on hold because they tour full time and it's not gonna give us as much flexibility to juggle both. He was like, do it. One, because it's historic. Two, it's an opportunity that only comes once in a blue moon because playing in that band is like being in the Supreme Court. People don't leave
Oh, yeah, no.
unless they choose to many years later or God takes them out here. So he was just like, you gotta do it. Just because symbolically what it represents as a woman, you'd be the first black woman or first woman, period, to do that role. And historically, that band has not had a woman full time. And you would be that person. And he was like, plus, you're ready. And, and I was like, I don't know, like, that's a lot of music. And, da da da
Yeah,
da. And he was like, take the gig and everything will work itself out. And sure enough, it did. I ended up taking the gig. I called my other mentors. They all said, are you crazy? Do it.
yeah, yeah.
And one year ended up being 2 years. And it was such a great experience because I learned a lot in terms of just the span of this music. A lot of times we kind of, when you're working professionally, we play things that, we're familiar with in terms of the stylistically, whether it's what the demand is or even what you're writing yourself. But the span of music is over 100 years, just about with that band. And it was just a great, fun challenge just every week learning stylistically different periods of the music. Okay, we're going to play some Fletcher Henderson, going back and listening to the tapes of how the saxophone section did their vibrato, how they did their phrasing, are they using air attack, or how they, play the rhythms in terms of how they played the feeling. And then next week, doing something completely modern or the following week doing something that's like the music of Train or the music of Wayne Shorter, and then another week doing original music by the band. It was just an eye-opening experience, and it was just great because it gave me an opportunity that was like a once in a lifetime thing. And then of course the impact. So symbolically, that was the first time you had a woman there full time. They had women here and there sub, but as far as like a full time chair where women would like, oh, that's Camille Thurman, she plays with the band, that never happened until I did it. And it was an honor to be able to do that and to represent the William Bartons and, the Vireds and all those wonderful women who, came on that same journey. And now to be able to several generations represent, it was an honor.
That's amazing. You have an amazing story, and I love your tenacity. You just were not gonna, you were not gonna be denied, and I like that about you. You put in the work, and you said it's going to pay off. And your mother, you came from good stock, first of all. You come from good people, and they saw the talent in you early on. And a lot of people, there
Yeah.
may be somebody out there right now with the same talent yours, they went the other way. But you stuck to it, even though with all the BS that you had to go through. So I tell you what, though, that's pretty amazing. Now let me ask you about Wynton Marsalis, though. He seems like
Okay.
such a wonderful guy, just inside and out. What is he like to work with?
Working with him, he's great to work with. I mean, the band, they have such high respect for each other, and the beautiful thing that I noticed in working with him was as a band leader, he gave space for everybody to contribute and participate. It wasn't like, this is my thing and I'm trying to do it this way, my vision. It was never like that. When it came to putting the music together or even rehearsing, there was an openness in terms of really hearing the band. Everybody had, if it was a critique or if it was advice or if it was feedback, there was no holding back. It was about the music. And even when I first started working with him, I remember I had a conversation with him early on, right away. I said, with all due respect, I'm very grateful to be here and thank you for having me. But if there's anything that you need me to do, please do not sugarcoat it. Tell me straight, just like you tell everybody else here. And he was like, okay. And, that was our relationship because I knew that was, sometimes, even though you might not have the conversation, you could feel it as a woman, like, okay, well, they're not going to tell you 100%, or if they tell it to you, they might soften it.
Yeah.
And my attitude was like, I don't want that. I'm here and I'm playing a role and fulfilling the chair's position. Tell me like you would tell me anybody else in this band, lady or not a lady, because I care about the music and I want to do right by it. And if there's something that I need to do, tell me straight.
Hey, I like that. So when did you decide that this right here is definitely going to be my career, and there's not going to be I don't have another option. This is what I'm going to do. When did that hit you that this is definitely going to be my career?
I think just stepping back and seeing how God orchestrated so many different things in my life and career, and even during the times where I felt discouraged or there were obstacles where it felt like it was impossible to face, and even, after accomplishing things like Lincoln Center and encountering different scenarios, just seeing how things would always just align at the right time and at the right place. It's just like you can't make this stuff up. Finding a Mark 6 saxophone as your first horn, that doesn't come by every
This
day.
is true.
um, Meeting someone like Maxine Gordon, who's the wife of your hero, and y'all becoming really close and her becoming your mentor, that doesn't happen every day.
Yeah.
Meeting people like Antoine Roney, who, took it upon himself to open his home to me and show me this music and take the time to sit down with me and help me figure out who I am as an artist and help shape it. That doesn't happen every day. Meaning even my husband at that time, where I remember we were in a jazz club with my best friend and we just randomly bumped into each other. And, he was just like, hey, I'm happy to see y'all here on the scene doing what y'all do. Please, if there's anything, any way I can help and support, let me know. It doesn't happen every day. I ended up forming a band with him 12 years later. I mean, you just kind of sit and look at these things and see, it's not random. Like, even for me, like, I went to LaGuardia High School. That's right behind the Lincoln Center campus. I walked past Jazz at Lincoln Center every day as it was being built while I was dealing with all that stuff in high school. And to think that 15, 20 years later, I'd be the first woman to walk in that building and be a full-time member playing with the orchestra for 2 seasons. And on top of that, seeing a giant billboard that's like 75 feet long in the middle of 60th and Broadway, thinking about, man, I used to take the train every day, carrying my horn, wiping my tears, trying to, show up and play. And wow, I get to live and see these moments. You can't get so discouraged that you throw it away because there's somebody bigger than you orchestrating all of this. And it's just beautiful to be able to see it come to fruition and see how it comes together. It's like there's no question. Yeah, this is what I should be doing. This is exactly where I need to be.
So when did you decide that? I mean, playing with the Lincoln and all that stuff was great. When did you decide I want to be a recording artist? I want, a solo. I want my own band. When did that come about?
Well, I was already doing it before I got in the band. And for me, I told myself when we first signed a contract, it was supposed to be for a year. And I told myself, okay, let's do this, see how it works, and we'll go from there. 1 year turned into 2 years. So I was like, oh, okay, this is great. But then around the time of the pandemic, that's when I made a decision. I was like, you know what? I had a great 2 years here. I would love to go back and continue developing my own career because I put it on hold for 2 seasons. And I don't know if anybody knows, but that orchestra, they tour about, what, 35 weeks out of the year.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, you're on the road all the time. And even if you have your own projects, it's very hard to coordinate touring around that consistently. And I knew that as an artist, if I'm going to make the investment in continuing my career, I have to be there. And I can't do both.
Yeah.
As much as I loved working with Wynton in the orchestra, I knew that in my heart, this was something that I really wanted to do and that I had, put time into developing. And my husband, he was, God bless him, he was still working with other people and whatnot, but he was gracious enough even to be the bigger person and be like, hey, you do this because this is a great opportunity. And if anything, it helps uplift and empower what we're doing. So I knew when the pandemic happened, I was like, I need to go back and continue developing what we started off with. And I haven't looked back since. It was a great decision, one of the best decisions I made because I knew I couldn't do both. I mean, I had to turn it down. I had to say, I love playing in this band, but unfortunately, it's both is not going to work, and I'm going to have to politely, turn this down. And thank you for the opportunity. And now it's time for me to go back into a different chapter.
That's awesome. Do you do any background vocals for anybody, or have you sang with other people? Because I know you play the horn, but have you done some of that background singing or
For other
anything?
background singing,
Yeah.
no. Mainly, I've been doing a lot of guest feature stuff,
Okay.
which has been great. Last year, I did a tour with John Clayton, and we did
The
like a
orchestra.
holiday thing with Terry McDowell.
Okay. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was with the Contra Orchestra, and he had me as a guest along with Tyreek for, singing and playing. I mean, it's incredible to think that, with the gift that I have, that I sing and I play, it puts me in a really unique space
Yes.
because having the resume and the experience that I have to have played with everybody and even to have done Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra, and then to have that flexibility of being able to, in my own space, be a front artist, it's kind of like I would have never dreamed of that. I mean, how many independent front artists go through that kind of training? I mean, you only think about that of like the jazz greats, like okay, Sarah Vaughan played second piano at all Father Hines' band, and bam, became Sarah Vaughan, and I got to do that, and bam, became Camille Thurman. So it's kind of just to reflect and think about it. It's kind of wild, but it's an incredible journey.
When you were the boss, then when this is Camille Thurman's band. So what kind of leader,
Hmm.
what kind of band leader are you? Are you a strict, let's, this, or you like, just know, when we go to rehearse, we rehearse, we're not practicing. So what kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. So, Daryl and I, we run the band together. And how it started was um, when I first got to the scene, Antoine Roney, he mentored both of us, and he was like, y'all need to work together," because I was writing music and, being a young musician at that time, I was trying to put stuff together of my own, but still navigating the scene and getting to know people. And Antoine was like, you need the opportunity to get the experience working with the cats. But the thing is, Art Blakey and, Betty Carter, they're no longer here. So those bands would have been your school, but there's those kind of experiences aren't really existent like that. And being a lady, it's a different path because not only are those existent opportunities not as much present, navigating to get to those spaces is a little different than a journey of a guy. So he was like, we need to create something that allows you to get that experience. And at that time, Jared was working with Wallace and Pharaoh and Russell Malone. And Antoine was like, you know what? Camille needs a rhythm section. Daryl, he was already playing with a lot of cats, and he was a little older than me and out there a little longer. Antoine was like, y'all need each other. Camille needs her butt kicked and needs that experience of really playing with a high caliber band. And he was like, Daryl, you need Camille too, because she brings something that's different as an artist, and I think both of y'all could shape something that's very unique, that's different out here. So then we started working together. It was with his trio
Okay.
initially, and we just did every gig under the sun, every festival under the sun, and pushed it. Even then there was pushback, like, well, Camille, you should. It's like, well, this is our band. This
Yeah.
is what we've developed, and it's been great to be able to do that because I learned how to be a band leader working with him, and vice versa. And now we have a band that's been together for the last 12 years, so there's a relationship with each of the members. We find people that just fit right as a glove. I think sometimes people think putting a band together is just about finding somebody who's technically great. Yeah, that's part of it too, but it has to be the right fit in terms of as people. And even you're going to be living on the road with them. You got to be able to have conversations
Yeah.
with them and laugh with them. And the guys in his band, they've known each other. They have their own stories of their journey, and they met each other at critical points in their career where they were in the trenches together.
Yeah.
And through all of us coming together, we have those experiences to kind of have almost like a family.
That's
So,
beautiful. That's
yeah.
beautiful. Let's talk gear. I'm a gearhead. I don't know if you are, but saxophones and mouthpieces. So I already know you got the Mark
Okay.
Six. So what mouthpiece are you using with your Mark Six and reeds?
Oh, an old vintage Selmer soloist, short shank.
Okay.
I love my Selmer soloist. Joe had that beautiful sound with it, and I kind of was chasing after not his sound, but I liked his setup. So I was like, well, let me try this. And it's a C star, but it was opened up to about a size six.
Okay.
So that's what I play on my Mark Six.
What ligature and reeds?
A Francois Louis ligature. I love it because it minimizes the pressure. Because I find that the old school ligatures, they kind of really choke or add too much pressure around it. And I like the free blowing feeling from having just minor pressure points around the mouthpiece here and there
Right.
that allows it to just sing more. And then for reeds, I've been using the Dario Jazz Select, three mediums, filed since I was 15.
Endorsement?
That's my go-to.
Do you have an
Hmm.
endorsement with him?
Yes, I have an endorsement with Dario and
Awesome.
also with Henry Summer Paris.
Okay. Now you play soprano as well,
Yeah,
right? Or do you?
I do.
What's on what you
I
got?
do. I do play.
What you got on
I
soprano?
play on soprano. I play Yanagisawa, and for the mouthpiece, I play a summer super session. It's like what's the
Summer.
size of it?
Not familiar with that one. Okay.
Yeah, it's a size J. I love it. It was actually loaned to me by my saxophone teacher, Antoine Roney, and he was like, "You can hold on to it, just don't go far with it." He was like, "You sound good on that." So I love that piece. Yeah, but that's what I play. Um, I currently play a Henry Summer Paris Supreme tenor saxophone, and it's a little slightly different setup because the mouthpiece that I had for my six, I realized it wasn't quite compatible, and it really sounds best on the six.
Yeah.
So for the mouthpiece for that horn, the Summer Supreme, I play a D'Addario Jazz Select size six, and of course the three medium reeds and the Francois Louis ligature.
That Selma Supreme is a gorgeous horn too. Did you get the
It's
black
it's
one or the
gorgeous.
is you got the black one or the other one?
I got the other one, and the
Okay.
lacquer looks so beautiful. It's
Yeah.
like a rich, deep
Yeah.
cognac color. Yeah.
I saw it at the NAM show, I was like, I'm a cannonball guy myself though, right? Yeah. I'm a cannonball guy.
Yeah.
That's good stuff though. You know what?
Yeah.
I tell you what though, Camille, let me ask you, okay, I always ask the I always ask my guests, give me your Mount Rushmore of saxophone players.
Oh
I
man.
know it's hard, but I give you five. I know it's only four up there, but I give you five because it's a tough thing to do. So go ahead.
Okay. Definitely Dexter Gordon. He's up there. You gotta have, of course, Joe Henderson. You gotta have George Coleman. You gotta have, of course, Sonny Rollins, and you gotta have John Coltrane. Those are my five.
That's a pretty impressive list there. You can take that band anywhere. Any one of those guys say you the lead today.
Anywhere. I mean, of course, we have to somehow stick Bird in there too, because it wouldn't be any of them if it wasn't for Bird.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But
Yeah.
I mean, those would be my Mount Rushmore, just because each of them brings something to the music that it's just you can't have this music without what they bring to the table.
Camille, you have such a stick-to-itive story. I'd like to ask you, what kind of advice would you offer people, regardless of age, race, or whatever, in this music game to try to get themselves up to par to get out here and make some things happen? What kind of advice would you have for them?
You gotta ask yourself what it is that you want to do. And it can't be something that takes 10 minutes to figure out. It has to be like the first instinct that you know if you were to wake up, you can't live without doing. And as far as knowing where to start, start with yourself. Find whatever it is that inspires you. Whether it's listening to your favorite piece and trying to figure it out or listen to your favorite solo and trying to figure it out. Just dive in because that's where you can kind of just learn so much about yourself but also about the things that make you tick because those are the things that you fall back on that allow you to keep striving, especially when you face adversity. I mean, I know many times I felt discouraged coming up on this journey playing this music, and Dexter Gordon was right on my playlist, which allowed me to wait, what am I doing? No, get back on the horn. It gave you the inspiration because you realize you love it because it makes you feel something. And you cannot live with knowing that you're not trying to figure it out because it drives you. So that's what I would recommend and suggest.
Amazing. Uh, Before we go, also, you have a latest. What is your latest project right now that you have out?
My latest project is Confluence, Volume 1, Alhambra, Camille Thurman with the Dara Green Quartet.
All right. And where
Yeah.
can people find that at if they wanted to purchase it?
You can find that on Bandcamp. If you type in Camille Thurman, you can purchase it there. We have the download format, and we also have actual CDs where I can sign it for you and mail it to you wherever you are in the world. And it's also on Spotify, but go for Bandcamp because the artists they get a bigger benefit from that.
Yeah, that's what's
But
up.
it's an album that features myself, Daryl Green, trumpet player Wallace Roney Jr., Paul Beaudry on bass, and David Bryant on piano. It's a wonderful album, not just because it's our album, but it's I think the best way of capturing who we are as a band and sonically what we're bringing to the table because it's a live album that really captures the spirit of us being in the moment and performing. And there's lots of great music that spans not just the jazz genre, but even pop that we kind of rearrange and put in our own way. So I think it's one of the best ways of getting to know who we are and how we sound.
Sounds good. Can you let everybody know about all your social media, how to contact you?
Sure. My website is www.camillethurmanmusic.com. On Instagram, my handle is at Camille Thurman, and on Facebook, it's Camille Thurman Music.
Awesome. Camille, well, you know what? This has been a blast. I really appreciate your time. And your story is overwhelming. I was watched your interview about a year ago with Jay Metcalf, Better Sax. Yeah,
Yes,
I watched it. That was a
that's
good
right.
interview
Better
too. Jay,
sax.
Jay's a bad dude, isn't he? I like Jay. Yeah,
He is.
I met him a few
He
times at the
is.
NAM show. Real good dude.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
he's so sweet. I
he
love him.
is. He's good
Yeah.
people. So, hey, but thank you for coming on Saxo Friends. It's definitely been a
Oh,
pleasure to get to know you, and I'm gonna follow you even more now that I've got a chance to talk to you personally, though.
oh, thank you so much for having me.
And when you ever come out to NAM, do you ever come to NAM show out here?
I have never come out to NAM.
You need to
I
come
need to
out.
come and make a
When
trip.
you come, you
Yeah.
definitely let me know you're coming because I want to meet you.
Okay,
Because I live a couple
definitely
miles
do
from
that.
there. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
We got to make it happen then.
that's it. Oh, also, you teach as well, right?
I do. I teach privately and I also teach at McGill University.
That's what I'm talking about. Camille, you know what? You are so awesome, though. You know what? You have the rest of the wonderful day. Thank you. And I wish you nothing but much more continued success.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Dave.
All right, take care. All right, ladies and gentlemen,
All
that was
right.
the great Camille Thurman. You can find her music on Spotify. What is it? What'd you say it was?
Bandcamp.
Bandcamp, yeah. Amazon, wherever, all the retail places you can find her. And if you need lessons, you hit her up on her DM and she might be able to fit you in on that as well. So this has been your boy
Okay.
Dave Saxologist. You guys have a great day.